Greetings, loyalists and heretics. Welcome to Iron and Ceramite, where we once again enter the warp without an astropath.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Iron and Ceramite podcast. My name is John and as always I'm joined by my co-hosts Tommy.
You all right?
Dave.
Hi guys.
Shane.
Hello.
And Glenn.
Evening.
It's been a while since we last got together and recorded anything, so how are you guys doing? All good?
Not bad.
Excellent. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Very good.
Cool. So like I said, it's been a while. I'm sure we've all been up to quite a bit and we've got plenty to cover for our hobby roundup. And also in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Black Templars. Dave has either offered or been offered up as the sacrificial guide. What have you got in store for us, mate?
So we'll be going through, we'll start off with their history, a brief sort of understanding of how they were founded, how they came about, to where they are now in the 40k universe. And I'll sort of go across some of the most notable members, some of the most notable sort of crusades and bits and bobs they've been involved in. And then just some interesting facts that I found about them, and hopefully will titillate you all.
Didn't you say you're just going to be reading their Wikipedia?
Pretty much that, and then portions of Hell's Reach.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we all like Hell's Reach. Cool. So stick around if you want to hear about some heretics getting absolutely smashed. So without further delay, we'll dive straight in. And firstly, in May, we finally reached 1,000 followers on the Instagram, and to celebrate we did a giveaway. Tom kit bashed this dude for us, and we hosted a little what was it you did, Dave, a announcement for the winner, and here we go. Here he is. Apologies if I don't say it properly. Marishi Mutin won, and Tom, you got it sent out to him.
Yeah, I sent it out to him. I think it was in Spain. So yeah, good to know we're reaching someone on the continent. Yeah, so I sent it out to him. Didn't take too long to get there, surprisingly, with everything that's going on. And then of course he let us all know, tagged us all in these in his post with the little Iron and Ceramite banner you can see there as well that he's done with the moon and everything.
He looks awesome though, doesn't he? He's done such a good job.
Yeah, it's a great job, man. Yeah, very cool.
And definitely appreciate the Iron and Ceramite banner.
Awesome.
I thought it was a great job. I also really like what looks like could be a freehand knee pad with a wolf on the what would be left kneecap. I thought it was a nice touch. Very, very well done.
And for detail, like, I can't paint faces whatever at all. That is a really good job. Like,
Yeah.
It really looks good. You can see his eyes as well. Like he's not like just splodged. There's some detail there.
I think my favourite part of all of it is just the way he's made the moon actually look like our logo. I think that looks really cool on the banner there. Yeah, nice.
So fantastic job. We couldn't have picked a better winner. Thank you very much. Cool. Awesome. So moving on. And Tom, I think you've got the most. So we're going to plough into what you've been up to.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I've got a few things to run through. So this is one of the finer things that I've done. I think it's an eBay rescue. So I paid £5.50 for this. The original picture on eBay was one of the, I think, Glenn, you said they may be possible old Stern Guard veterans, maybe?
Yeah, maybe it was a bit hard to tell from
Potential.
yeah, I don't even think it was the previous box, but the one way before. They are
cool.
Pretty models, but yeah, really nice models.
Yeah. So they pictured them in the thing and didn't say on that it was an Emperor's Champion in there. So I looked through the pictures, and the last picture was this Emperor's Champion all beaten up and smashed. So I ended up buying the little lot there that you can see on the screen for £5.50, which is pretty much nothing for a model. I think it was a White Dwarf giveaway or something like that, a limited edition Emperor's Champion of what I've done in research. But it's not the coolest looking model. I'm sure Dave will let me know. He's constantly said it's trash and outdated. So So because he's got the modern updated version of the Emperor's Champion.
Even the modern one is outdated, really. But
yeah,
I do like it. I think it is a cool miniature, but it just looks so small.
It is. It's tiny.
Compared to a lot of the newer models, the pose is.
He looks like the Black Knight from Monty Python.
Yeah, but £5 for a vintage miniature, like three vintage miniatures, like that's that's amazing. Like that's history you're painting.
I saw the Emperor's Champion there. I looked up on eBay for not new ones, but stripped down pretty much perfect ones, and they was £50.
Yeah.
So once I stripped that down, as you can see, it was pretty much
your painting.
perfect. And then, yes, Dave, thank you. Considering, what was it you wanted me to do? Replace the sword because of the way he's standing with a massive rubber dick or something, or whatever you said.
Yeah.
It would have looked much better your way, wouldn't it? Your Slaneshi way. So anyway, yeah, I stripped them down in methylated spirits, and all three of them come up really nicely. So I was very happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. There you go.
So there we go. You can see the pose that Dave was talking about there. So that's the steps I went through. Obviously, there is first one where he's cleaned off. Second one, I've made my own base just out of two small bases and some astrogranite. It didn't come out very well, to be honest. So I covered it in grass and got away with it. But yeah, it looked a bit too rough, that one. Didn't really take my time with it. But yeah, I was pretty happy with it. It was nice to paint a Black Templar. It's quite difficult painting black, especially over the undercoat I used, which was bone white, because I didn't have any decent grey sea or anything like that. But yeah, pretty happy with that one.
Is his shoulder, is that, oh, I was going to say, is that freehand or was that already imprinted on the shoulder plate?
Yeah, it was like a raised, I can't remember what they're called, Dave. You can enlighten me.
Pauldron.
No, the like the logo.
The Templar.
Pauldron. Like I'm not retarded. Okay.
Well,
tourism.
Cool. Yeah, no, yeah. So it was a Maltese cross was raised, so it's pretty easy to do. Yeah, to be honest.
Very nice. And if I remember from the Instagram, didn't you try something new with the lenses?
Yeah, I just tried to. I suppose you could call it dry brush, but I painted in the eyes, and then it was almost an accident at first because I went over the edge a little bit, but it was quite dry on my brush and it looked quite cool, so I kept doing it around the outside of the lens to try and make it look like a glow. And it worked pretty well, to be honest. It's not perfect, but yeah, I was quite happy with that, and I think I'm going to use that technique again on purpose next time. Happy
accident.
Exactly.
Bob Ross.
It's just nice to see a decently painted Black Templar from our group.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Dave's on it. He's on it, isn't he, with your helmet? But
cool. Right. What else you got, Tom? What else are these?
So I'll breeze through these. These are nothing special. They was the other two that came with it. As you can see, they stripped down nice. I put a few bits on it. I'm probably not even going to use them, to be honest, in anything unless I can find somewhere for them in the future. I'll probably paint them at some point. But yeah, that's they're sort of nothing really. It was just to get the Emperor's Champion with them.
Cool. Moving on.
So this was what I'd done before that. So there's another eBay find. Can't remember how much I paid for it. I think it was £6, which isn't too bad for a vintage 95 Mini. So this is Tigarius, I think you pronounce it, the Space Marine Chief Librarian, the old model, obviously. So I bought him. I didn't have a power pack, but I put one of them on. And as you can see in the next picture, I painted him up and made a base for him as well. So this base went very well. I was really pleased with this one. This is how I wanted the Emperor's Champions one to turn out. Because I got to dry brush this one and paint it properly, and it actually does look like sort of a nice little champion stand base. There you go. That's all the steps that I took and what I used to make it into that base. Put an orc head on there just because I have orc heads for some reason just laying around in my bits box, so I used them. Yeah, I was very happy with the way it turned out. Just in case anyone says his eyes are supposed to be white, I've had like 4 messages, people saying, "Oh, to put the eyes in, you need to do this and that." Like, he's a librarian; it's power coming out of his eyes. That's the point of it. He doesn't need to have pupils. Just in case anyone's thinking that.
Mate, he looks great though. So what's the blue?
I put him on a spot now. Talasar blue, I think it's called.
Oh yeah. The contrast paint, Talasar blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a strange mix what I went through with him, really. I mean, originally I sprayed him silver because I wanted his armor to look like glistening sort of blue, like a librarian blue. But put the Talisar contrast over it. It looked really cool. But then I started sort of, I've got that, you know, that stuff I use for my power swords, that like electric blue silver color. Started putting bits of that on edge highlighting, and I thought it looked pretty cool. So I started filling in the panels with that and just leaving the Talisar blue around the outside. So it created sort of like a two-tone blue all over him, almost like he's a little bit shimmering with power. So yeah, I left it like that. I was pretty happy. But then I washed the whole thing in Agrax and ruined it a little bit, but I took off a little bit of the shine. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out in the end still.
I think the colours still pop out where they need to. I don't like, even if you put Agrax over it, even if it looks duller than what it was, I think it's still, all the colours pop out where they should.
Yeah, I got a little bit lucky because I dry brushed the green cloth as well with moot green, so that over the top of the Agrax, so that stands out a little bit. And I put a little bit more of the blue on the armour in the high raised places, just to stop it looking too dark.
No, I like it, mate.
Thank you, John.
Next one for you.
So this is what I painted yesterday, my Death Guard Intercessors, which I used for the first time today. I'm sure you'll remind me of that later on at some point, John. They got absolutely obliterated. Actually, no, I will say this. At one point, I have to get this off my chest. 48 attacks with these guys against one unit. They scored 3 wounds. 3. But yeah, I really enjoyed painting them. It's the first time I've painted Death Company from all of my Blood Angels. And they turned out okay. They tabletop standard, to be honest. But I did try a little bit of detail work on the guy's intercom system with the power sword. It's a bit of a blurry photo, but yeah, it come out all right, I think.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I like it. Again, if you go back to one of the pictures before of the squad, your like your blade blue, I'm going to call it, the blue that you put on all the blades, that mix, I really like it.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Homemade blue still, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure if it's homemade, but yeah, it's mixed together by myself. I think it was Magic Blue, Vallejo Magic Blue, and Vallejo Silver, just the regular silver mixed together, and with Flow Aid added to it into a dropper part. And yeah, it works really nicely. It does have a little bit of a shimmer when you see it in person from the silver. Yeah, so
especially when they're getting absolutely destroyed by blight haulers, they look great.
Well, to be fair, the blight haulers took quite a long time to kill them. I just couldn't do anything with my attacks, so they just sat there for ages.
Well, they died. That's all that matters.
They did die. You're correct. Yeah, thank you, John.
And then this one.
So this is I bought Reavers, a 10-man squad of Reavers ages ago because I think they look cool. Unfortunately, I haven't really got anywhere in my army for them. I don't really think they're cool enough for me to use as elite units. I've got so many other elites that I prefer. So I wondered what to do with them. So I've split them into 2 squads of 5, and I'm going to do a diorama with this one. As you can see, they've all been set up in a certain pose on that base. I think it's a knight base or something like that. Originally, that's what that would be used for, Imperial Knight. But I put them on it, and as you can see, a couple of them are firing up to the rafters somewhere, and the other guys are looking around, just spotting the area. So yeah, I'll paint all that up, and just for a little side thing to do, really, a little bit of a project.
That's good, mate. Maybe you could wait, see if a little competition pops up on like Instagram.
I was thinking, yeah, it might be a bit of a laugh on it to enter, maybe, if I can be bothered to paint it well. I'm sure I will. And moving on, this is my other half of the Reavers, which I need, to be honest, I needed troops. I'm very short of troops at the moment. I've only got my assault intercessors and some tactical squad, I think, firstborn tactical squad, but they're not painted, like half of my army, really. But I turned these Reavers into incursors. Actually, Glen gave me the tip to that. So as you can see, I've given them the carbine bolters and put the scopes on them so they look like that. And the little things they all have on their backpacks, and they have paired combat blades, I think, the incursors. So I've given them all a blade in their hand, as the Reavers would have anyway. So yeah, I think I can use them safely. It's all Games Workshop bits. They've all got the exact weapons they should have now, or they look like that. So yeah, I'm going to use them as incursors if I can. Okay, another kit bash gone mad, really. Bashed the base there, as you can see, more orc bits just all over the place. And it's another orc head. Yeah, I'm slowly running out of orc heads, but eventually they'll all be gone, but not just yet. Still got a few more. So this cat,
good head.
Sorry,
I said, do orcs give good head?
Well, what do you think? Looking at that, I think it would hurt. Look at his teeth. He's all teeth.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I needed a captain with a power sword because Dave's got a Terminator captain. I think he uses it. Do you use a relic blade with yours, Dave, or just a regular power sword?
Depends how many points I got left.
Yeah, cool. And I thought you looked pretty cool, so I thought I'd have one of them. So that's pretty much the only reason I did this guy.
Cool. And then this one. I think this is your last one.
Yeah, I think I was having a stroke, to be honest, when I come up with this. I was really bored. I put together a 30k marine. Well, everything was 30k parts apart from the backpack, which doesn't really matter. I painted them up because I wanted to try this Nasdaq yellow. It's called. It's almost like a yellowy brown contrast.
That's the contrast paint, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen people using it who use it on tutorials as gold, and it sometimes looks like gold. It doesn't at all. Well, at least when I used it, I shook it as much as I could, and it just looks like brown, pretty much. Browny yellow.
I use it as a dirty yellow. So like a battle worn yellow.
That's exactly it, mate. And it's exactly what it turned out like for mine. Very battle worn sort of look to it. And I don't know how these guys were getting it to look yellow. Maybe they're putting something on underneath. I don't know. But it looked like they was using a regular primer. But yeah, I wasn't happy with it. So I just chucked blood all over him and put a couple of gouges in his chest. And yeah, just, I don't know, really. Ready to fry in the bin, really, to be honest. It's not my best work.
I was going to say, I reckon if you took a run like at the like a Space Hulk box set, you'd have a great time because it's just Blood Angels and Gene Stealers, and this sort of stuff would be all over.
Yeah, I would love that. I did actually. Yeah, I didn't send the picture in for that, but I did put him, or kit bashed him holding a Gene Stealer by the tail, which didn't really come out well, and it looked a bit crap. So I thought I'd just leave it at that. I won't put that picture in.
Cool. Right.
Yes, so I think that's me done.
That's you done.
Apart from, I was just going to mention, there's no pictures of it because I didn't really want to bother you too much yesterday night, John. But I've also made some Death Company with jump packs as well. The original Death Company Marines that I upgraded into Primaris Marines. Of course, they can't be used as Primaris, but they look the part. So I used them today, and they're another group that got wiped off the table pretty quick. So yeah, that's me done, really.
You're going to paint them?
I am, yeah, but just I'm not happy with them. I hate what happened to them today, but them ones look really cool. I love the poses that I've put with them. They've come out really well. So just for the fact of I like the look of them, I'll definitely be painting them.
Yeah. Oh well, at least like we'll pop them up on maybe the next episode or whenever we get around to it.
Yeah, cool.
Cool. Right, Shane, you're next, mate.
I don't think there's much for me to cover off. It's just finishing the Rhino. It took ages. Mainly because I started with contrast, which was a nightmare, streaky, horrible finish. So then went back and was like, okay, what base should I use? What proper paint can I put on it? And found the Fang, which is what this blue color is. So started with the Fang, I repainted the entire model, edged highlight with Fenrisian grey, I think it was. And then used various bits and pieces from other Space Wolf kits to put on some detail. So the wolf heads and the storm shields on the side. And then on this at the moment is the dual bolter as well as the missile. And again with the marine on top, which is a standard tech marine. I just put on a Space Wolf shoulder pad and then a Space Wolf head, and that's it. So hopefully it gives it a bit more of a Space Wolf flavour, as it were.
Yeah.
But it's taken me a long time to get it done.
I can hear the pain in your voice just talking about it now.
I'm looking at it. It's on my desk next to me, and it's like I'm glad I've got it done and it's there. But yeah, it was no fun.
I'm not gonna lie, because of the color in the picture, to me, I thought, oh, he's done an Ultramarines Rhino.
Yeah.
It looks really blue, but whenever you said the Fang, it's like,
yeah,
that's not the color of the Fang.
It's
it's photographed really, really differently.
When I was painting it, as I got the color line, and I was like, because I was looking on Games Workshop, and it was like, right, well, you have Battle Ready, which is a lot of the Fenrisian and Lehman Russ colors. It said Parade Ready, you should use the Fang, and I was like, okay, well, the Fang is also the only Space Wolf base color, all of the others are lit. So I was like, all right, we'll give it a go, and I'll paint it on, and it goes on fine, which is great, but it is very dark in comparison to like other Space Wolf colours. So it has come out, as I said, really blue, not ultramarine blue, but still closer to that than to the Space Wolf grey that you would expect.
Yeah.
So as I said, I've done it. I don't know whether, like, now that I've done it, as I said, next unit I think I'm going to paint is going to be the Wolfen, and I will probably go back to Rust Grey and Fenrisian Grey and just double coat it rather than start with the Fang. If I had more time and expertise, I'd probably go back to this one and layer up with Fenrisian Grey, but it would probably just look like a child splodged it with lighter coloured paint. So I'm not going to bother. I'm like, okay, that's good enough. So that's where I've got to with it. But because it's also, I was going to say, because it's a Rhino chassis, I'm also painting the Razorback variants, and they're also in the same colour. And I'm like, it's still looking very blue rather than Space Wolvie.
I noticed the blank parchment on the door there. Are you going to try your hand at naming it?
Well, so I have on Bjorn the Fell-Handed. I've done it with a very fine tip pen, and that worked really well. And with my rogue trader Lehman Russ, I've done it as well, and that works fine. So I might do. I just don't know what to write on it. That's the thing. Is like, it's got to be something appropriate, but nothing too wordy, and also it's got to be done in some sort of runic.
What about pain?
Runic words. So
pain, because that's what you felt when you were painting it.
Maybe that. Maybe I'll look up the Norwegian or Swedish for pain and try and write that out.
My vote is for party bus.
Party bus.
Party bus.
Party bus.
The Scooby-Doo shagging wagon.
Maybe that would be the way to go. But as I said, it came out right in the end. It just took a long time. A longer time than I would have wanted to get there. And then otherwise, I don't think there's anything else picture-wise for hobbies. It's just today I've been going through a load of terrain, and I'm just going for a spray and pray approach. So I've just sprayed a load of it, and hopefully that will do the job. Nowhere near as detailed as your terrain, Dave, but hopefully good enough for tabletop.
Don't give him another reason to be smug.
And then I suppose it would have been in podcasts is obviously John and yourself, Tom, had a battle today, but
no we didn't. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what I'm talking about. A couple of weeks ago, myself and John had the Death Guard versus the Wolves, Space Wolves.
No, I don't remember it, mate, at all.
But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good though, because since the last pod, a few of us managed to get together and all have a few games. But like Shane come to mind, we actually played objectives for the first time.
Yeah.
My first time, and you destroyed me. Like absolutely cleared the board.
I had no idea how effective Bjorn the Fell-Handed, the old Space Wolves Dreadnought, was going to be, but he's pretty punchy.
Yeah.
He definitely did a job. So.
He's not just punchy. He went from unit to unit and just pushed him out the way. It was ridiculous. And everything I thought, I'll get some wounds on him here. I mean, I got him down to low, didn't I?
Yeah, no, you did. Like your what was it? Your drone exploded after being smashed, and I was like, okay, this is trouble. And then your Terminators charged in.
Yeah.
And he just killed them all.
I've been quite smug with my Terminators of late, and I almost threw him away in range after that happened.
I thought he was dead when you charged in. I was like, and it was luck of the roll, right? His invulnerable came up, and he got to hit back, and it was just like, that was it. But
But then I think as well, I mean, I was saying to Tom earlier, there was a part of me not quite getting the grips of how the objectives work, and then not thinking about it. So like I definitely got outplayed for a start, and you had some amazing dice rolls. Apart from your Vindicare
I did. The Vindicar assassin just did for the first 2 turns he did nothing. He totally whiffed, didn't get any shots off, and then on the third turn he just kept hitting your Lord of Contagion. So he took like 4 or 5 wounds off of him.
Yeah,
which was amazing. And then the other thing was that, like Glen would know, there's the old rule of the distraction Khan effects, or whatever it used to be called.
Shiny shoot me.
Yeah, I did the same thing with my Wolfguard Terminators when I dropped them in behind you, knowing that you would just go to them and deal with that, and that left Bjorn to just wipe the board.
This is a move that Dave's got me with every time. He drops in his stuff behind me, and it's happened to me twice, and then it even happened to me when you did it. I'm just never ready for it. I just don't expect it to happen. Even when we're setting up and I see the stuff getting, and you're like, yeah, this is the teleport stuff for later, and I just move everything up as far as I can, and then I'm like, oh, he's dropped in behind me. I wasn't expecting that again. And then I think as well, I sent that because it's the first and only time I've used my bloat drone, and I got a bit carried away, and I pushed him as far up as I could, and he just got destroyed, and that was my heavy firepower gone from there.
He did explode, which is that took a couple of wounds off, but yeah.
And then I think I panicked and tried to spread myself out on objectives, and you just cleared me off the board. So, but it was good though. I learned a lot. Learned that I don't like playing against you anymore.
Well, we've got the Necron. We've got a Necron battle coming up, and that will be a very different game because I don't really know how to play Necron because they're my new army.
Yeah.
And they play very differently to the Space Wolves. So I think that will be interesting.
Yeah. I'm hoping my luck from today sticks with me for the weekend, and I can get some sort of revenge against you.
I have no doubt. I think the Necron list is a much easier list to go against.
Yeah. I'm setting up, I'm trying to arrange a game with you as well, Glenn. So when we sort it out, do you know what army you're going to take?
I might take my AdMech, potentially. But I'm just sitting thinking, am I the only one that hasn't actually won a game yet?
Yeah.
So
we only played 2, didn't you?
Yeah, but I've been doing this hobby for 20 goddamn years. I should have won at least one of them against 2 people that have played a combined total of maybe 5 fucking games between them.
I've only played once, and you were probably going easy, Glenn, whereas I, didn't give John any chance. I was like, right, this is it. He keeps winning with the Death Guard. We've got to take him down.
And I will say, you turned up in my house, very businesslike. We set up. There was no sort of chit chat, and you basically just destroyed me in front of my wife, and then walked out of my house with a big grin on your face.
Cockhold.
And then I had to sleep on the settee that night. She wouldn't let me upstairs.
I honestly, Shane, right, when John come round, I was trying to get a few hints on how I can beat him. I went, so how did Shane wipe you off the table like that? What happened? And he just literally had like a blank stare across his face. It's like, I don't remember any of it. I don't remember anything.
I went and cried in his kitchen for 10 minutes.
Well, I thought we started the game quite well. Like I was, following. I was like explained all of my strategies, what units did what.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It just goes over my head, And you just speak with such confidence. I'm like, yeah. My kids keep saying, "When's Shane coming back? When's Shane coming back?" Your teachers
know what he's doing because he knew what he was doing. Yeah.
The teachers have to play.
What was it? Your missus said, John, that she finds it interesting until.
She said she did. She's like, oh, it's all interesting until you start playing and get all the books out, and then it seems more like work than play. And then, well, we might as well, while we're on games, obviously, like today, Tom, what happened to me with Shane happened to you, I guess. Yeah,
and the worst thing is it's twice in a row. I don't know if anyone follows us on Instagram who's watching this, but myself and Dave had a match a little while ago. Last week, whatever it was, and literally my rolls were terrible. Dave played better as well. His tactics were more sound, so he probably would have won anyway, but I got decimated in that one. And this time was even worse. If that was possible, then it was even worse. I think I made probably 25 to 30% of what I needed to, and I think John was probably 80% maybe, something like that.
Dave
it was horrific.
Last night, obviously, what we always do is we'll say, right, we're going to play this game, and then whenever we're both ready, we put our lists into the group for everyone to look at, and Dave texted me literally last night. Went, Tom's going to destroy you. He's got some tricks up his sleeve. And then I didn't have any. I just texted him back, like, yeah, I've got my own tricks. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to get absolutely ruined. And I was dreading playing today.
Well, you saw what my trick up my sleeve was.
Yeah,
So I needed it to work. I needed to get the first go, which I did. We rolled off for it. I won. I elected to go first. In my mind, I was going to use my Death Guard Marines with the jump packs. I was going to use a CP on Forlorn Fury, which allows me to move 12 inches up the table, and then I get another 12 inches for my move, and then I'm in distance to charge, which I did, and I got in with them on the first turn, bang, straight into your Plague Marines, and they just didn't do anything. I got some poor rolls. I mean, they killed a couple of Poxwalkers and a couple of Plague Marines in that little battle, but more or less they was wiped out in the next turn, wasn't they? After in your next turn, and then after that.
What unit did you charge?
Only the Plague Marines. That was it.
Oh, okay.
These Plague Marines.
The Poxwalkers were right there as well, though, weren't they?
So they ended up charging in John's turn, and then it was a bit of a free for all with them three. So that unit as a whole, I mean, 4 had power swords and 1 had an Astartes chainsword, and also obviously had red first. I had my chapter, Blood Angels chapter traits and everything in play, and I was getting so many attacks, but I just wasn't making any of them, unfortunately. Yeah. And I went down bad.
He was throwing like he was just like laying it because he was like, right, well, they get, I can't remember exactly, it's like they get 3 attacks each, plus they all get an extra attack because of this, they all get an extra attack because they charge, they all get an extra attack because of this thing. So he's throwing like upwards of 20 dice at me, and then he's just like, right, take half of them off, throw again, take half of them off, and I'm like, oh, throw, and saving more than half. And you just see like Tom kept saying, I'm going to throw myself off a cliff in a minute. I was like, oh, if you don't turn up at 8 o'clock, we might be calling the police to go find him. And then
now, I was going to say game wise, because I know we've gone hobby roundup and this is totally tangent now. Dave, you also played John's Death Guard with your Templars, right?
Yeah.
We've had 2, haven't we?
We've had a couple of games. So the first game wasn't very good. The second game, I was definitely winning.
Yeah.
And I thought I just sort of, I don't know if it was just a bit of luck, but I did feel a bit more on top of that game. And then he decided that he was going to go away for the weekend, so we had to stop the game when he was losing.
Tactical retreat.
I mean, that first game was good, but I mean, it was very much the same with when I was playing. So you was just like, you used your black dice, which was supposed to be your red dice, and they just backfired in your face, didn't they?
Yeah.
But that second game is a shame because we threw it together last minute. But yeah, I was going away, so we had to cut it short. I think halfway through round 2.
It's such a shame. Just after I took out his Plague Marines and Terminators.
You can't count it as a win, but I would say it wasn't looking good for me if we'd carried on a bit further.
No, so you still had your Blight Haulers, and they've been really good for you. So you just don't know. I think the Death Guard, I just think are such a tough list, especially when you get in close with them and you take out like the toughness of your own units. I think it's just difficult to go against them.
But it's like, so the other thing is, like, when I've played, apart from Tom, unfortunately for you, Tom, like today's the first day where I've actually done a little bit of pre-planning. I got all my strategy cards out and actually looked at them, took out the ones that didn't apply. So I just had a plan in my mind for one. So like there's one where I can, for one of my main Death Guard company, where if you get it for a CP, you can actually take 2 inches off of their charge. So that sort of helped me twice. I threw that down, and it just sort of stopped Tom from getting certain units in that might have done a bit more damage.
I think that made a massive difference because, as I alluded to before, I've not got many troops. So really, the only troops I can use that I feel comfortable using are my assault intercessors, and they've only got 2 wounds each. And when with your whatever that thing is that lowers my toughness and all that, they just wouldn't have done anything. So I had to go for my Vanguard detachment, which obviously lowered my CP right down. And obviously, John using the patrol detachment, wasn't it? You still had quite a few of yours left. Yeah. So I think that did definitely make a difference. You could pick things from your stratagems.
Yeah. And then the only other thing really to cover, one that I was really excited to use, I didn't get to use it against Dave, is one where you can roll 7 dice, and then
I hated this because let me just say, right?
Is this the Poxwalker one?
Yeah, I love that card.
I had one guy left, Sanguinary Ancient, and I was kept going to John, let me go out in style, it's fine, I'll go out in style. And he had to use that, didn't he, to take them all back again round me. I mean, the game was over, but yeah, it was quite funny, actually.
I had 2 squads of 14 Poxwalkers. He killed one squad fairly quickly, but the other one, I charged him into that Ancient just because I wanted to tie him up. And then he killed 7 of them, so I popped that out and bought 6 back. And you can bring up to 7 back, so I was quite chuffed with that. And then we sort of stopped the game, I think, the end of round 4. But I think we went 4 turns until we actually finally killed him, just rolling dice at each other, just to see how long it would take.
I know he saved for 2 plus 2 or 2 plus, but he must have saved about 30. And it was when I didn't need any of the rolls, I was getting everything at the end of the game. Literally everything he was saving. It took quite a while, but
it was good. I look forward to more games. Unless anyone, you and Dave want to cover any specific things from your 2 games.
I don't think I want to embarrass him anymore.
Cool.
That was another bad one, roll wise. Yeah,
dice rolls in that game were the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah,
today was worse, believe me.
And it stopped being funny after a while and just got a bit painful.
But the good thing about that is, though, halfway through, when you know you're losing that bad, you sort of go, I don't care anymore, and you just sort of relax into it a bit more.
Yeah. But you've bought new dice now, haven't you? So that's going to solve all your problems.
Yeah, more dice. My 4th set of dice, which are Lord of the Rings blue ones now, with the Minas Tirith tree on. So nothing to do with Warhammer. I've washed my hands of it.
Back into fantasy. That's the way to go.
That's it.
Cool. Right. So games aside, right. So from 1 Rhino to a Chaos Rhino, here's my attempt of a Nurgly one.
Nice.
I'm fairly happy with it. I mean, it's a lot of green, isn't it? A lot of green, lot of flat space to cover. But I think
the good thing sorry.
I was going to say probably the same as you. The good thing I can do is I can just sort of make it dirty. It sort of covers up some of the plane.
Well, I was actually going to say, I mean, at least with you, because obviously you've got quite a lot of free reign. I've seen quite a lot of people use like green stuff and that on this type of thing to make them look, tentacles and things like that, whatever else. So you could potentially do that in the future if you ever got better at things like that.
I probably will, because before I was looking at buying some green stuff, but I mean, obviously mid-lockdown was when I was thinking about it, and it didn't seem like it was the stuff that I wanted to get, the molds and stuff, and some of the bits just weren't available within a decent time frame, so I didn't. But yeah, I'll probably go back to it. And I mean, I can always add more to it. It's not going to hurt that model, is it? It can only improve.
To be fair, even with Chaos stuff, especially Nurgle stuff, all you got to do is to take a few hacks at it with something and go to town on it with like Nurgle's Rot.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's weeping sort of pus from some big old gouge in it, or even just have it coming from any of the sort of cracks and seams.
Yeah.
Because I did give it to you built, so it's probably built quite shoddily as well. So there's probably a few.
No, it was okay. It was all right. I mean, the one thing is, I was like, I don't like painting built models, so I did find it a bit tricky with some of the bits that I probably would have done before gluing them on. But really, it wasn't too bad.
It's a box. It's not like there's an arm coming over and a cape, and it's a rectangular box.
Yeah, I know.
It's not that difficult to get around.
The spikes and stuff. I just like to do them individually and put them on. It's just the way I do it.
Jesus.
The one thing I did like with it was the Havoc launcher. I was quite happy with how that came out because it's got like a dirty, rusty look, and the Nurgle's rot inside the tubes is settled quite well. So it looks like a face full of that would wreck your day.
Yeah.
And then another model that you gave to me was what I was searching for all along, my Malignant Plaguecaster. And then the base is something that Tom gave me already done, so I can't take credit for the base, but I do like the way that it is.
Yeah, it's not. I like the way you've done the effects on the. What is that he's shooting?
Some sort of plague cloud,
like plague jizz.
Yeah, basically. He's like Spider-Man, but you really don't want to face with that web. Yeah, he's blowing a nice little kiss as well.
No, it is good. I do like this model.
Yeah, he's pretty much contrast as well.
How did you get on with the contrast? Because I know you started off slightly unsure of it. How did you find it?
Yeah,
Now you've
so
got into it.
now I'm enjoying it because now once you figure out how to work it, because before I think what was it where it was just sort of pooling where I didn't want it to pool. Obviously, it's quite thick, so you can get it if you start. Like for me, I start in like the crevices where I want it to be darker, and then push it out, and that spreads, and that's where the color comes in. So like the blue, I can't remember what it's called, but that's a contrast. And I was quite happy with how that came out. And like his staff, I think looks better than some of the other things that I've done, and then all of his little horns and spikes poking out.
What was the staff? Snake bite leather?
It might be wildwood, something
Wildwood,
like that.
cool.
Weirwood, something like that.
What's his the purpley cape? Do you remember what you used for that?
Purpley cape. I can't off the top of my head.
It just looks good. I was just going to say it's very nice work.
That might not be contrast, but I used Drushi violet shade over it.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. So I was quite happy with how he came out actually. Quite happy with that one. And then the other thing I did was a batch of 10 Poxwalkers. And that was almost entirely contrast paints, apart from some of their clothing.
Are these the
Massive
ones,
improvement.
I was going to say, these are the ones where you did a few of them on your Insta, where it was before, like first versus latest.
Yeah, so exactly the same one. So these ones here. So
yeah, that's it.
Don't worry, I haven't put all 10 of them up here. They're on my Instagram. So this is just an example of the befores and afters.
Massive improvement there, I think.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, and even like the ones on the left are like the older ones, but they're not even my first one. So when I put them up against ones I did before, like it's almost, but I haven't got triples of them. So it's almost 3 times improvement because the first ones I've done are very blobby. And when I did these ones on the left, I was well happy with how they turned out. And now I've used contrast mostly for these dudes. And I'm obviously like even more happy.
I was going to say, it kind of comes back to what, Glenn, you said, I think maybe in the last pod, is that contrast being really good for organics. And obviously these guys are very, very organic.
Yeah. It does look really, really good, I must admit.
I really like that. I just tried a green contrast for that dude on the top. I was quite happy with how he turned out. So I think my next batch of 10, most of them will probably be a bit green. Yeah.
You're going to get more Poxwalkers?
I've got another sprue of 10 from Glen sat on the shelf. So, and I did these over a couple of days, like before and after work. I just did 1 at a time or 2 at a time. So I've got some Marines that are already sprayed that I want to get done. And I've got another Noxious Blightbringer. So I'm going to try something different with him.
I'm pretty sure Poxwalkers are objective secured as well. So they're good for objective gaming.
Yeah, well, we'll find out on Sunday.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so again, thank you, Glenn, for all the models. I've enjoyed painting this lot.
No problem.
Cool. David, these aren't black and white. What's happened?
They're not. They are my kit bashed objective markers. They've been sitting on my shelf, sprayed for months and months, and I was just sort of a bit of a loss about what to paint. I've got so much that needs painting. I just sort of put it all out on my table and just looked at it for about 3 days, and then, well, bollocks, I'm just going to do this. So I went with Crimson Fists for the Dreadnought and the Sergeant there. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how it came out. They're not perfect, but they look pretty good on the board. It was quite nice doing something other than just black and white. I did try and freehand the Crimson Fist symbol there as well. I don't know if did I send you the other pictures where it's a bit more close up? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't think so.
But it's on my Instagram. If you check out my Instagram, then there's a couple of pictures that they're a bit closer up, and yeah, so they'll look all right on the board just as objectives.
Dave? What's the thing on the top right? Is that the little teleport thing from the Terminator?
Yeah, just teleport home and a couple of the bits that look like they would just look all right with that.
It looks cool.
Cool.
And finally finished first 5 intercessors. similar to you, a lot of this was contrast. So obviously, Black Templar contrast, and then this is very sort of basic tabletop. I lost the will to live doing these. I'm really struggling with my batch painting at the moment, so I'm glad they're done. But I did end up playing a couple of games with them not being fully painted, which I always said I sort of wouldn't do, but I may have opened a bit of a Pandora's box with that one because I've got so much stuff I want to use that's not painted. I might just start doing a Tom and get it all out and just use it unpainted. Paint a little bit of black on it so you can tell the difference, and then yeah.
Is that one or two coats of Black Templar? Just out of curiosity.
Just one thick coat.
I like them.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
Yeah, they look good. That's the thing, is they look good enough tabletop, and I think that a lot of my troops now are just going to be like this, and I will take a bit more time with the characters, try to do the edge highlighting on characters, but just leave the troops, not even try edge highlighting, because the suppressors that were shown on the last pod, I keep looking at them and just I hate the edge highlighting on it. It's just too thick. So until I get some better brushes, I think I'll just leave it like this.
Yeah, I haven't done any edge highlighting. I started doing it on the Rhino, and I think I did one line on the back, and I was just like, I'm not confident enough for this. I'm not doing it, and I stopped almost immediately. But I like these, man. I think they look really good. I like the way the contrast, like they look like they've got a shine on them, which is really cool.
I've got to say I prefer them over any of the ones you've edge highlighted, Dave. Not just the suppressors, any of them. I think they do look really uniform and in good keeping, to be honest.
What a backhanded compliment that is. Thank you.
No, honest, genuinely, I think they do look good, man.
This is the least.
I've tried the least. The least amount of effort. And then these are my eradicators. After getting spanked by John and his ridiculously tough Death Guard, I thought I needed some units that could take out the tougher units. So these are my eradicators that are built, and they will just sit in the pile ready to be painted for months and months, probably.
And they've got 5 toughness as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got the Gravis armor.
Have they?
Weight of fire against Death Guard, though. You want lots of bolters. You need your intercessors.
Yeah. Well, I've still got another 15 to need doing. So.
And then this is the last one from you, Dave.
Yeah. So this is my Helbrecht work in progress. Obviously, I've been doing a lot of research into Black Templars recently. He's been built for months again. And I've been waiting until I sort of improve a bit to do him, but I thought, bollocks, I'm just going to go with it. So he's only a work in progress, but I'm quite happy with how he's coming out so far. So this is base and a wash, and then there'll be some layering coming, and then obviously the base. But yeah, I think it's so far so good on him. I'm quite happy.
When you say layer, so what's left to do with the layering?
So all the chains, I'm going to do some layer on there. I've got some silver, some red, some black sort of highlights to do as well. And then obviously like the, I don't know if you can see the scroll for his purity seals. I'll try and put something on them as well. But yeah, other than that, he is quite close to being done. I'm not going to go crazy with him, I don't think.
Where did you get the reference of what he looks like to paint from, the colour wise? Because I haven't really seen him in anywhere apart from Hell's Reach, which is black and white.
Yeah, so I googled it. I looked on obviously the box. When you get him, you got the art as well, but he's wearing black in that. So I don't know if you remember Michael Maldus. He's got the sort of beigey, dirty tabard that I've done with Helbrecht as well. So it's not quite the same as box art, but I just think he looks a bit brighter. It makes him stand out a bit more compared to, because when you turn that around, his cape's completely black. So I just think if you've done black on the front, he'll just look like the rest of the army. I want him to stand out and a bit more.
Nice.
Does he have his own? I was going to say, does he have his own data sheet? I don't like. Well, maybe we'll come into that with the Templar bit in a minute.
Probably not with the data sheet, but yeah, he does have his own. Yeah.
Quick, add that to your notes.
Sorry?
I said add it to your notes just in case you run out. Cool. Right. And normally we end our hobby roundup, but someone has actually done something.
Yes. So I had a little bit of a mad building session. As you can see, some of it has got to a spray and wash stage. Then the spray ran out, and then my enthusiasm just went again. So until I went and bought more spray, and I just not got around to finishing it. So that is the contents of the Forge Bin box, the old Start Collecting AdMech box, and the new Combat Patrol AdMech box, minus another Dune Strider. So
have you got the codex?
yes.
Nice. Yes. It's quite a complex army.
It is, yes. And you look across most lists and you go, bolter, yeah, I know what that does. Yeah, melting gun, I know what that does. The trans something. I have no idea how to even pronounce that. I have no idea what that is. So yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time going through sort of all of the various units and weapons that people can be equipped with. So yeah, I'm sort of slowly familiarizing myself with them.
Do you know which what do they call it? The Mechanicus.
I don't know which forge.
Like
I'm not
it,
sure which one I'm going to run with. I think I will be. I'm not going to paint them like any of the specific ones because I have a paint scheme in mind. But it's the same as the Space Marine chapters. You can take like a successor Forge world as such and use sort of pre-existing ones, or you can make your own out of sort of.
You can take the Mars ones or Metallica or whatever else it is.
Yeah.
As long as it's
yeah. And it's not like there's a lot of named characters that are Forge world specific. You've only got.
It's only. Is it Cole?
Yeah, he's the only one, and I think he's Mars specific off the top of my head, which would make sense. But yeah, everybody else is just a generic bloke.
How many points do you reckon you've got sat there? Do you know?
I did point it up, and I can't remember.
Awesome.
So there's probably.
I was going to say.
I think it's in the region of like about 1,500.
I was going to say the combat patrol boxes are 500 off the bat, aren't they? That's what they're designed to be. Because I've got a Space Wolves one, and that's 500 off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, like there's two tech priests, two bigger tech priests, 40 Vanguard, and 20 of the other troops.
What are the two at the back? Because you've got an Onruga Dune Crawler, right? And then there's
they look like armatures.
Yeah, there's two armatures.
Oh, okay, that's it.
Because they were in the four. They were in the Forge Bin box. So I've got little Necron Force sitting there unbuilt as well.
And all of the new rules, if I remember correctly, make all of the troops as well much better for Adeptus Mechanicus, because before the troops are a little bit hit and miss, but now they're much better.
I don't mind them actually. I think they're pretty good because it's just getting your head round. Yeah, they're not Space Marines.
Yeah, exactly.
They're toughness 3 guys as opposed to and not as good an armor save, but you're paying like half the points for it. Plus, my weapons are a 30-inch 2-shot range, 30-inch range 2-shot gun. I'm just going to sit back and pound you. Those on the right, I am really going to love them.
Yeah,
with the heavy grav cannon things, they are going to be the bane of John's existence.
I was going to say this is bad news for you, John. This is proper power creep. This is all on This is all to combat Death Guard. Space Marines will be fine. There's no change to a Space Marine. We just have to try and hit you.
I've been looking at some of the bigger weapons and just been like, right, what's going to work really good against John? His with the reducing the damage of a weapon, it's sort of like, so even if I take like a slightly bigger gun with damage 2, it's still only doing damage 1. Yeah. Right, I need to be doing damage 3 at least before I'm killing a Plague Marine. So yeah, those 3 guys on the right they're just filth. There's like 15 shots from those 3 guys. And because you've got good armor, they wound really easily and do lots of damage. So yeah, they're going to be fun to use.
The long story short, you're going to pound John first.
I might even bring the Vaseline if I'm feeling nice.
I don't need it, mate. Who's
John,
my own?
This is what happens, John. When you keep winning, people target you. That's just what it is.
I did bring this up. I'm the only Chaos player, so I feel like I'm being ganged up on all the time.
You see, I would be using my Chaos if the Chaos Codex wasn't so shit.
Yeah.
It's not got to like or unless I've missed an update somewhere, but like why wouldn't I take a Marine with 2 wounds when I could take a Chaos Space Marine for the same points with 1 wound?
Yeah.
It's like, and I've got a massive Chaos army and I just want that. Like even like an FAQ or a chapter approved or something just to go, if you're a Space Marine, Loyalist or Heretical in power armor, 2 wounds across the board.
I'm sure it'll happen. I'm sure it'll happen.
I'm sure it will, but it's just like...
It's all right. I'm sacrificing the Necrons to John.
We'll see how it goes.
This weekend, just so he can feel a bit better.
Oh, cheers, mate. Thanks. Charity game in my honour.
You watch, Shane will turn up exactly as he did last time, proper meaning business, and you'll just be like, go blank again.
Yeah. I guarantee he's going to go out tomorrow and buy 500 more points worth of bloody Necron.
No, it's straight out the Indominus box. I've got no special tricks.
We'll see.
Don't know how the army. Well, I mean, I've played 1 battle with the Necrons, so you know.
Oh yeah, how did that go? Didn't you played Necrons against your son?
Yeah, and he beat me. So.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I look forward to this game then.
It'll be fine.
Unless I lose.
The only thing I've got going for me is that we'll play objectives, and it will just be like, right, okay, how can I hold on to these?
Yeah.
That'll be it.
Right. Cool. Right. So unless anyone's got anything else for Hobby Roundup, for those watching or listening, hit pause quickly, grab a cup of tea, refill your water pot, and then after this musical interlude, we'll be back and talking Templars.
Okay, now the Iron Ceramite podcast. Obviously, what we want to focus on, or one of the things that we want to focus on, is each of us obviously plays our own faction, and that could be Space Marines, Imperial Guard, or Astra Militarum, as well as Chaos and various other factions within 40k. And we want to give it a spotlight on one of those factions. And so we're going to start this week with Dave, or this month, should I say, with Dave, who's going to take us through a bit of Black Templar lore, why he's into them, a bit of an introduction to the chapter, and then we're going to go for a bit of a Q&A and maybe ask a few questions, talk a bit more about the chapter as they go. So Dave, do you want to kick us off and maybe start with why you picked the Black Templars as your faction of choice?
So it all goes down to Hell's Reach, I think, in the end. When I was initially getting into it, Tom lent me a few books, and Hell's Reach was the one that really stood out to me. And especially Grimaldus, and it just sort of that real sort of grimdark. That's what a Space Marine was in my head already. Does that make sense? So it just sort of clicked when I read it. So then I started doing a bit more sort of research into them, and I thought actually they're going to be pretty easy to paint, and it all sort of clicked together. And that was So it was mostly Hell's Reach, obviously. Yeah. Then branching off of that, and then going obviously into the lore and.
So sorry, just stopping you. With Hell's Reach, obviously you read it rather than watching the YouTube piece.
I've done both.
Yeah, okay. And how do you think does the YouTube piece reflect well on the book?
I don't think it's as good as the book, but it is very good on its own as well. And I think I think it appeals to a sort of different kind of person, if that makes sense. Because I can visualize things better in my own head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily want them visualized for me in that context. So I prefer the books, but they're both very good. So
okay, fair enough. And I think you mentioned that Tommy, for example, was like Tom guided you towards Black Templars, and I think, so people may not be aware of it, but you were to-ing and froing between different chapters and maybe thinking about different things. So you settled on the Black Templars mainly for the lore, and then obviously because they were easy to paint. Which is not what we say easy to paint. That's a bit flippant, but they've got a good color scheme, right?
Yeah. And I thought that, like I said, when I first got it, I sprayed them Chaos Black, done a bit of dry brushing, and that was it. So they were very easy. But yeah, like I said, once I started getting into the lore of the Black Templars, that they are for me what a Space Marine should be, I think. So that's how I imagined them anyway. So when I started going into the lore and reading about Helbrecht and Maldus and the Emperor's Champions and all the sort of things that they've done and the standout sort of contribution that they've made, as well as their sort of mindset. Because I always, before I was actually into it, I thought that, because I'd heard of the God Emperor, I thought that everyone worshipped him as a god.
Yeah.
But a lot of the Adeptus Astartes, a lot of the other chapters don't, obviously, and in fact, he very much don't worship me as a god himself. But that was sort of my mindset anyway. So once I sort of realised that, it just sort of clicked for me. I think that's what I had in my head already.
So I was going to say, so the Black Templars, they're slightly different to other chapters in that they're a crusading chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So did that lore play into it?
Yeah, so I'll do a sort of a brief sort of history. Yeah. They come from the second founding, just after the Horus Heresy, and they're one of the Imperial Fifth successor chapters that came about directly after the Horus Heresy, and the Codex Astartes written by Girly Man. Dawn initially relented and said, "Don't want to split them." Eventually, on the brink of another sort of war, relented. Crimson Fists, Soul Drinkers, Templars, and there is another one I can't remember.
Soul Drinkers, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Guys.
In no way heretical, John.
And so Sigismund was the captain in the Imperial Fists, and he was chosen during the Battle of Terror to act as the Emperor's champion. And he basically went out and just kicked Chaos ass for a little while. And his story on its own is very, very good as well, I think. After the sort of failure of keeping the Emperor alive, and although technically they won the heresy, Emperor obviously fell. So to make up for it, he launched the second sort of Great Crusade, so to speak, and which has lasted for 10,000 years. So it's the longest one that's ever been, and every High Marshal after Sigismund takes up and reaffirms the vows, so to speak, that they will carry on, bringing the pain to the enemies of mankind. And it all goes from there as well. So basically, the basic structure is very different from most other sort of Codex compliant chapters. They have no librarians, and they have sort of an abhorrence in some way to everything to do with the warp. From what I've read and what I've researched, there's quite a lot of different reasons for that people give. So I've heard everything from they don't like it because you can be influenced by chaos, to there's some bad shit happened and all their librarians died. So that's quite interesting as well, because I don't think it's actually anywhere in canon exactly why they don't have librarians.
Just slight tangent on that one. Tabletop wise, instead of lore, like we know that they don't do it. you think that's, how have you worked around that as a tabletop player without that psychic phase?
I think it's literally just relying on John forgetting all the psychic stuff.
That's useful, right?
Yeah. No, obviously, Grimaldus, you got like deny the witch. There's some stratagems of Abhor the Witch and stuff like that. So they have their own sort of built-in protection, so to speak.
you have like litanies and stuff, don't you? Is that something that everyone has, or is that a Black Templar thing?
No, librarian. Well, not librarians. Chaplain.
Chaplain thing.
Chaplains has litanies, but
how's that different to psychic power? Just because I don't understand.
It's just
They're different.
Yeah,
it's different.
But yeah, but it does the same
more of a
job as a
buff,
psycho, though, doesn't it, for the Black Templars? I mean, because everyone has litanies every different chapter, but you have specific ones that are like sort of like Deny the Witch, but like you say, they're called Abhor the Witch. So it's a chapter specific one that you've got, isn't it?
Yeah, they got a few bits and bobs that to keep them alive, so to speak, in that sense. But they do still work with because it's strange. Because like I said, when I was researching, they don't have librarians. It's a bit unclear why they don't. They don't like psychers and anything to do with warp, but obviously, star travel, they need the navigators, who apparently, because the Black Templars believe that they are following the light of God Emperor himself, and they consider them to be quite holy psychers, and they're right because they're doing the God Emperor's work. But
yeah, the Astronomicon, right? They're following the beacon, so that's okay.
They're following the God Emperor's light, and they will work with Grey Knights as well because they're incorruptible. So they're the only sort of librarians. But I found it quite interesting researching about how they go to work with the Death Watch. Because obviously they can then sort of next to librarians and all these people with psychic powers, and they only send sort of the least zealous in that sense to join the Death Watch. But going off on a sort of bit of a tangent, they don't actually really stick to the Codex Astartes at all, really. They are rumoured to be around about 6,000 strong, which is obviously quite a bit more than your normal Codex combined.
Yeah.
And their sort of their structure itself is quite different as well. So they obviously have the High Marshal, which is like the chapter master, and then you have a marshal who's in charge of individual crusades. So you've got the main crusade, which is to bring all of mankind back into the Emperor's light, and then you've got crusades who sort of go off at the whim of the marshals and the high marshals. Sometimes they have petitions from other people, but it needs to be quite high ranking. So you're looking at high levels of the Inquisition, high lords of terror and stuff like that. Otherwise they just stick two fingers up and go, so we're not doing that, we can go do what we want to do. So they'll go off on their own crusades, and then the crusades are then split, led by a marshal, split into fighting companies, which are quite similar to the normal companies of Codex Astartes, and each led by a Castellan, which is the equivalent of a captain. And they basically are sword brethren, who are the veteran equivalent, again, of the Black Templars. They don't have, as you would with the Codex compliant, sort of the first company, second company, third company. Like I say, they're only in crusades. So what would technically be the first company would be the sword brethren, who are the most experienced and the most sort of the best warriors they've got. And they will then lead the Crusader squads, who are basically how the Black Templars fight. So they don't have any silence and stuff like that. They have very good warriors who sort of lead and act as non-commissioned officers. And then it goes down to initiates, who are fully fledged sort of Black Templars, and neophytes, who are Space Marines, but they haven't been trained and taught to the same extent as initiates. So initiate will take a neophyte and they will pair up in a Crusader squad, and then they will teach them the ways of Black Templars, and that's how the sort of structure goes. You start off as a neophyte, and then you work your way up, hopefully one day to the lofty heights of a High Marshal who can stick two fingers up to anyone he wants, really, because he's got 6,000 Marines at his disposal. So,
and for those that don't know, like, we know like the Blood Angels and the Space Wolves are very combat orientated. like the Dark Angels are very flexible, and the Ultramarines also flexible, but also a good gun line. Where do the Black Templars sit in that kind of spectrum of Space Marine?
It's actually noted that they don't have the same sort of level of firepower as other chapters would, because of their insistence in using the Holy Bolter and the Blessed Chainsword to go into combat. And melee is the sort of the way they like to go about it. With this, obviously they haven't got their own supplement yet. I'm hoping and praying one day they're going to have a new codex and their own supplement. I haven't actually run them the way that you probably should on tabletop, because every time I have, it's not worked out very well, because they do have a fair few buffs, but it's not as current as some of the other stuff. So yeah, on tabletop and in lore, they are very melee focused. In fact, they quite famously they chain their weapons to themselves. So there's two different types of sort of chaining. You've got the devotion chain, I believe, or chains of devotion, which is basically saying once this is done, once what I say in prayers and what I say I'm going to go fulfill, once I've done that, I can take this chain off because I've completed what I've done. And then there's other chains that I can't remember for the life of me. I've written it down somewhere in my notes, that will stay on forever, and they will literally put the chains on and keep them on as a reminder to always have a weapon in hand.
So it's almost like a purity seal chained around their wrist.
Yeah,
like
pretty much. And then we will not stop until the job is done. Basically, that is the thought, and that actually comes from, I believe it's the World Eaters initially started doing that. That's where it comes from. Sigismund thought, actually, that's a really good idea, so he started doing it, and then as a sort of respect for him, everyone started doing it within the chapter. So.
And Sigismund was
sorry.
Well, we'll get into that. But Sigismund was originally an Imperial Fist. He was an Imperial Fist, right? So he was one of Dawn's loyal, what was it, captains?
Yeah, so he was a captain. He fell out of favour with Dawn, actually, which is sort of how he ended up being as zealous as he was, because he had a epiphany. So bad was going to go. That's. I mean, I don't know the heresy as much as I'm sure others do, but he fell out of favour with Dawn. Dawn pretty much disowned him, and that changed a lot of his ethos and how he sort of went about doing things. And that is one of the reasons why he was quite as zealous as he was, because he wanted to prove to Dawn, actually, I am one of your sons. I should be able to stand with you and do all these great things. And that sort of pushed him just do the crusade and do all the sort of ridiculous things he ended up doing, like going and fighting a Baden one-on-one.
He did well against him, and like, how did the
died though?
Oh, well, he did, but there is, as I said, side tangent. Everyone go and YouTube it. There is a lot of lore about that one.
Yeah, it's pretty good story.
Old boy Sigismund against chaos infused Abaddon. Anyway, I wanted to touch quickly on the Emperor's Champion and how that comes about and what that means within the chapter, because some people might not understand it. And we talked about it earlier, like Tom's his eBay rescue. He painted one, and tentacle dick porn aside, like what does the Emperor's Champion mean to a Black Templar? What is that unit?
So the Emperor's Champion, pretty much every chapter had an Emperor's Champion or a sort of something equivalent at some point. But as I said earlier, Sigismund, during the Horus Heresy, was chosen as the Emperor's Champion, which is one of the ways that it can happen. You can be specifically chosen, adorned in the sort of best armor, given the best weapons, and basically said, go and kill all the bad dudes over there. And they would basically challenge all the sort of chaos warlords and all the biggest and baddest to one-on-one combat. And that's sort of where it goes from. There's a strong tradition. Apparently there's 10 black swords, so that every crusade can have an Emperor's Champion. There will only be one, and once the sort of epiphany that they get is complete, they will just go back to what they were doing before. So they can be chosen. They can be chosen by the chaplaincy, the ecclesiarch. sort of the religious side of things can say, we need you to step up and act as the Emperor's champion. But the majority of the way it apparently happens is they, before battle, they will basically, as you would expect Templars to do, of the conventional Templars as we would have like in the Middle Ages, would pray and fast and prepare for the battle. And during these sort of devout moments, one of the initiates, or it could be anyone within the chapter, will have an epiphany where they basically see them acting out the Emperor's will. And some say that they do actually speak to the Emperor himself, and he gives them a message to go out and do certain grandiose deeds and save mankind. So a lot of the time before the battle occurs, he'll be sort of have this epiphany, and he'll go up to the chaplaincy and basically say, this is what I've been told. And all the sort of zeal and fury and hate in his heart is really, and they basically go, great, here's the best armor we got, here's the best weapons we got, go and kill them scary dudes over there. So that's the sort of role of the Emperor's champion, that they will go and basically try and hunt down the warlords and the champions of the enemy, and bring them to their knees. And once their role is done, like I said, they will just go back, and a lot of the time end up just dying because they fight off more than they can chew. And there's a couple of sort of famous ones that we'll go into later about what they've done and the role that they've had on the Imperium as a whole. But yeah, so that is basically one of the biggest honours within the chapter, because it is to be basically walking in Sigismund's shoes, and it's basically doing the will of the Emperor. So,
because I was going to say in
chapter.
My next question was going to be about the Emperor's champion in, well, Hell's Reach. So someone that's just watched YouTube, for example, he's there, he doesn't agree with, or he voices that he hasn't agreed with Grimaldus's elevation, but they still fight together. That Emperor's champion doesn't survive, and Grimaldus passes the sword on to another trooper. Is that the passing of, like, does that trooper then become the next Emperor's champion?
So on that occasion, yeah. So he basically was handing over the sword, and basically we need another one. And that's what I said about the chaplaincy can sometimes bestow it upon someone. But apparently the most fervent ones will have the epiphany, and that's the way that they are basically made Emperor's champion.
So not a cocky little shit like Primus then. He was a right bellend. He was a right bellend, wasn't he, Primus?
Yeah. Oh, your mate's dead. Why are you so sad? Get over it. But just going, because when we was obviously planning this episode, and then I was like, I don't know what to research, and you said to me, do you know why they're black? So did Sigismund get the ump with Dawn and go emo and paint everything black in his room?
Almost.
Or a better story than that?
I feel like that it's not the greatest of stories, and I think that you've sort of got a bit too excited with this bit.
Well, yeah, I mean,
the reason, and this is why chaplains wear black, is it singles them out in the eyes of the Emperor. They will see the black of the armor, and that will single them out in the eyes of the Emperor. So that is why black was chosen. And obviously, Sigismund had the sort of Templar look anyway. Although he had imperial office, he would wear the sort of the tabards. He had the Templar cross. That's where they got a lot of their sort of imagery from. But during the Horus Heresy, again, he basically singled himself out in the eyes of the Emperor. Look at me, I'm wearing black. And that is where it came from, is that they basically copied Sigismund. And again, that's why a lot of the chaplaincy, or all the chaplaincy wear black, because it singles them out in the eyes of the Emperor. So that's where they got it from. So it's not as interesting as I sort of may build it up, but yeah.
It's nothing to do with chaos, John.
No, I didn't think it was. It just sounded like someone had a strop and painted their room black.
Yeah, that's it. Classic teenager.
Yeah.
I'm going to paint the scene in black and then have one off the wrist for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So on that note, Dave, like, why did you decide to go for Black Templar? What was it that you went, okay, I've got all of these different bits and pieces. Black Templar are my, they look like a Space Marine, they sound like a Space Marine, they're fervent. How have you found playing with them since you've gone down that route?
It's tricky because I'm a bit like Tom. I want to just charge in and sort of have this epic clash where we bring down the sort of the infidels and the heretics and all that. But it doesn't work like that because they just haven't got the skill in that sense. I think that other armies have just been updated a bit better, and I'm having to rely on playing them in a slightly different way. So I'm hoping, like I said, that supplement comes out, I can get a load of Crusader squads, I can stick them all in a Land Raider Crusader and drop them off right next to an objective and just pile out and have fun with it. But I just think at the moment they are a little bit outdated. The Emperor's Champion is my favourite thing, and as John will tell you, drop him in a drop pod with a sword preference squad and go after the warlord, and he is, and like I say, on tabletop is exactly what it says on the tin. He's killed Lord of Contagion Typhus a couple of times.
He made easy work of Typhus. It was really pissed me off massively.
So what? Well, I was going to dig into that. So what rules does he have? What's his actual profile like that makes it easy for him to take down like Lord of Contagion?
Yeah, so he basically gets extra attacks when he's fighting warlords, and he hits. I believe he hits on a 2. He's got re-rolls, and then the black sword's got quite a lot of damage and minus AP, so it ends up being quite good. When he
doesn't he have a 6-inch intervention as well?
So if he's got Oathkeeper, he's got a 6-inch heroic intervention as well. So he's really good at sort of countering champions' charges. So.
And at the moment, he's just that's still just a firstborn unit, right? That's not Primaris.
No, so they haven't released one. But if you look at the Primaris Lieutenant with Power Sword, it is pretty much a Emperor's Champion. At one point, I will, unless they release a new one. I probably will do a kit bash one, but
maybe they'll buff the Emperor's Champion even more. That's what I mean. It's like
I don't know if he needs it. He's one of the only ones that really is sort of as it says on the tin on there. Like he plays as you would expect him to play.
And he,
where are you getting these tins from, Dave?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Tom. Say it again.
No, it's all right. God.
I was going to say
it was drivel.
He is a unit that is only available to Black Templar, right? It's exclusive Black Templar unit.
Yeah, character model, yeah.
Pretty cheap as well, though, isn't he?
80 points, I believe.
Yeah, like that's not much.
No, for what he can do. That's the thing. If he can get one-on-one with a character, he's going to do a lot. Because he always fights first against characters as well. Characters and monsters, he will fight first. So
just got to get him in, right?
Yeah, so if you get him in, he's great. But against sort of other units, he can, because he hasn't got too many wounds. Again, he's only toughness 4, so if he is overwhelmed, he is quite vulnerable. But if you can get him one-on-one with with someone, he's really good.
He can't deep strike, can he? He's not.
You can stick him in a drop pod.
Okay, that's your drop pod.
Yeah, that's what he does. He drops him behind me every bloody time.
Not this again. John, let it go.
3 times I've taken out his warlord because he never protects him at the back.
Yeah.
It's all about distraction with John. Just put something shiny in front of him and go for it.
Necron's shiny. I don't know where I'm going to be looking.
Sorry, Tom, go ahead. You were going to say something?
I was going to ask, I mean, chapter specific or not, what's your favourite model or the favourite unit that you've actually used so far, tabletop-wise, with your Templars? I mean, it would sound like it might be the Emperor's Champion, but...
Yeah, 100% Emperor's Champion. I do like Romualdus, but again, he's not as punchy as the Emperor's Champion, but I think, with the amount of Typhuses and Lord of Contagions he's already taken out, he's definitely my favourite so far. But I think they're quite limited on that. I mean, they've got Helbrecht, who's half painted, never been played. Romualdus, who's been 2 or 3 games, and my Emperor's Champion, who I painted quite early on. I think I brought him to most of my games. So, yeah, definitely the Emperor's Champion for the time being.
Cool.
What unit do you think are you going to go next? Or what are you going to bring in next for your Templars army? And two follow-up questions is why is it, and do you think it's with that army, or is it because you're making up for maybe not having that supplement yet?
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to doing the Outriders because they sort of fit within that theme, I think. And I think that if you can get the charge in with them, that'd be pretty good. But I've also got some Reavers. And I think Reavers are very much the sort of Templar Primaris, if that makes sense. Because they're terror troops, go in, want to get in close, and just get involved. So I've got Reavers, and I'm a bit gutted that Tom didn't sell me the ones that he didn't want, and he ended up kitbashing. I probably would have just had a load of Reavers going in. I think that'd be quite cool with a Primaris sort of contingent, bit of stuff to back them up. But if we can get them in and get the attacks in and the charges in, I think that'd be quite interesting.
With the Black Templars and Primaris coming into the lore, where are we at with the Black Templars? Are there any Primaris?
Yeah, so as with other chapters, Primaris have started joining in. Actually, it turns out that one of the marshals leading the crusade actually played quite a big part in restoring Girly Man and bringing back him from the brink. So he was Marshal Marius, bear with me, Almerich, who...
Oh, sorry.
Almerich.
Bear with me.
Marius Almerich. And he basically helped with the resurrection of Girly Man, and then during the 13th Black Crusade for the fall of Cadia. And he basically went with him, led him back to Terra, and ended up giving his life to protect him against all you players of combat cards. Almerich stabbed the bloodthirster Scarbrand, the Exiled One, and kept him at bay through the chest with the Black Sword as his role as the Emperor's champion. He ended up getting absolutely dicked by Scarbrand after that, but it gave Girly Man enough time to defeat Scarbrand using the Black Sword that was sort of buried in Scarbrand. He exploited that weakness, and he basically managed to overcome Scarbrand and escape to Terra. And that is where we are sort of with that. The Templars did have a big role in the fall of Cadia. They did try their best, and that's one of the reasons why the Marshal ended up giving his life, because he felt such shame, basically, from not being able to defend Cadia in that way.
And we all know the classic 2CP stratagem, get dicked.
Yeah.
It's come from that.
Yeah, I think that's Scotland specific, that one. Get dicked. Yeah. So they do have Primaris, and they played a big role, obviously, in bringing Girly Man back and helping with that being spread out to everyone. The law in terms of at the moment, I don't know how much you sort of know about it, but where we are at the moment is Third War of Armageddon. Grimalda survived. Hero of Hell's Reach, Helbrex was in command of all sort of the naval forces, being a really, really good sort of admiral within the fleet. I think he's the best in the Adeptus Astartes, from the top of my head. He basically thought, no, fuck this, we're going to go after Baruch Fracker, who led the sort of the Great War. And he fucked off looking for him. Unfortunately, he came across some Necrons. So Imhotep ended up having a famous duel in which Helbrecht lost his arm. That's obviously where, don't know if you saw in my model earlier. And he was sort of saved by his household. They came and sort of pulled him back from Imhotep, who Imhotep took his arm and thought, have that as a permanent reminder of your failure. So Helbrecht went off. He ended up going and purging a few other words, getting his sort of mojo back, and then came across Imhotep again and fucked up his tomb ship. So that's sort of where we are there. He destroyed Imhotep's tomb ship, so there's 1-1. But he's still going after Gazkul with, what's his face? Glen, you'll know this. Who's the chap? Garrick. Yeah. So they're off in the stars doing something. So I'm hoping there's going to be some cool new lore there soon. But
I was going to say he's like he's classed as like one of the, well, if not the, but one of the best like naval strategists in the Adeptus Star, because he went into the Ghoul Stars and no one else did. I think that was one of the things.
That's actually So they went out there, and then that's obviously when the War of Armageddon kicked off. Third War of Armageddon. So there was. I think that'd be interesting if they go back to the Ghoul Stars, and I think there's some interesting lore around that could be coming out.
Only when GW needs to produce a new army.
Sorry?
I said only when GW needs to produce a new army.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
They might put some of that in the the space the flying game, Aeronautica. What is it, Aeronautica?
Aeronautica. Yeah.
Yeah, that might work for the Ghoul Stars. That'd be quite good.
See, I was looking at a few of like their famous battles and crusades and stuff.
Yeah.
And there was one that caught my attention, and it wasn't because of like something epically heroic that the Black Templars done. I'm just going to sort of go off on a little tangent. Like, what was the name of it? It is the Empyrean Crusade against a load of Chaos Cornate cultists. Basically, they were getting their ass handed to them.
Is this where they bravely ran away?
They bravely ran away, and because there was nothing for the cultists to kill, they started killing each other.
That's the best victory.
They had their brave Sir Robin moment.
There was only 30, to be fair.
Yeah, I know, but it was still like, yeah, that's cool. Just chaos being chaos.
What was the, what was the result from running away though? Because like they left Grimaldus to die on Armageddon with like 6 people.
Oh no, well that was slightly different. So they didn't leave him to die. They left him to marshal the defences.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he said, "I'm going to die here," and he was
repeatedly.
No, but he didn't. He didn't.
No, everyone else did that. So those guys got welcomed back into the fold, I guess, or sent back out.
Yeah. Is there any beef between Grimaldus and Helbrecht?
I don't know because obviously he got sent down there and it didn't look good for him. But I think Grimaldus is quite forgiving anyway. In that sense, I think that he's just basically the way that their structure goes. I have a feeling that the High Marshal must have had a plan. If I'm being sent here, he knows something I don't. Get on with it. That's the way that I'm sort of struck by the Templars. If they die in battle, great, because they're doing it for the Emperor. If they don't, then I'll go and die somewhere else.
And obviously, chaplains are known for their forgiveness and reasonability.
Yeah. As are Space Marines generally, right? So,
yes.
Yeah.
So I think go on.
I was just going to say, so obviously, like Helbrecht's got a couple of foes that he's after. It's like Templars, enemy number 1, target number 1. If a Templar can pick someone to eradicate first, who are they going for?
Anyone who strayed from the Emperor's light.
So they don't have a particular.
The heretic, the witch, and something else.
So
they don't have like.
I was going to say chaos first. The fallen. I say the traitors.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they will go. Yeah, they will fight anyone.
Yeah.
But basically, the people who have betrayed will probably be first on their list. So heretics and traitors.
Cool. Bring it on.
I'm trying to remember when they first came into the game as like a specifically playable chapter. Shane, do you remember the old campaign books, Battle for Armageddon and the 13th Black Crusade? I'm pretty sure they were in one of them, but I can't remember which one.
So I was
it the Armageddon one? It makes sense as the Armageddon one.
I think it was because they were always if I remember back to 2nd edition, they were always like a chapter that was listed, but they didn't have any specific rules.
They were just a paint scheme in a book.
Exactly.
Whereas I think the little kind of supplementary books that they brought in the Crusade squads.
Yeah, and that would have been the Armageddon.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it would have been. Yeah,
but like some of the old special rules they used to have was laughable. because they used to, if they took damage, they used to have to go towards what they took damage from. So if you were of the inclination to take a Devastator squad and have them like in a building, all you had to do was do a little bit of damage to them, and they would run off the building as they tried, because there was like fall damage in the older editions. So it was just like pew pew, and you've just got Devastators leaping off the building. That was like, yeah, they've addressed that now, but it used to be hilarious.
Anything else you want to hit on, Dave?
I don't know. There's lots of sort of cool bits from lore, but I would recommend everyone goes and does a load of searching themselves. But they've played a massive role in a lot of things. So the Emperor's Champion, Alhart the Slayer, basically took out the Hive Fleet Leviathan by killing the Hive Tyrant and then boarding the ship and then stabbing the or whatever it was in the ship that needed the pulsing cortex of some Tyranid thing. So he basically helps.
I'm glad you've explained that to us, Dave. I'm glad you've explained that.
Really clear.
Well, what is it? What is a Hive? I don't know enough about Tyranids to basically say what their ships are.
What you'll know is that what he done doesn't mean anything, because the Tyranids are Tyranids, right?
But he's taken out the Hive Fleet Leviathan. That was one of the biggest ones.
Has he?
He's not taken out an entire Hive Fleet himself.
Well, he's out.
Just by going, yeah, that ship's dead. Yeah, he's killed a ship. Well done.
Well, he's just put them all in. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Come on, let's have a go, Dave. Let's have a go.
Yeah, shit. Come on. Yeah, Black Templars are shit. Yeah.
No. What I was going to say, David, is they're not shit. That's fine. But Tyranids is not who you want to pick on. What I was going to say though is aside from Hell's Reach, if you didn't know anything about Black Templars, I mean you do, but like, let's say listeners don't know anything about it, they can go and find Hell's Reach on YouTube. Other than that, what would you say you go and look at, you read? Where's your first point after that to go and say this is a really cool chapter?
The wiki pages. I know it's sort of a bit of a cheat, but they have everything on there that you sort of want to know. So that is a good way of getting up to speed with it and sort of working out where they've been, what they've done, how they started, and you can go off obviously on a tangent from there. A lot of their stories are obviously quite enclosed into the sort of, as a lot of the stories are, they don't give the massive sort of view that a wiki page would. So I'd say if you are interested in the Black Templars, go to the wiki pages and you could just go down a rabbit hole, as I've done several times, and just ended up in weird places reading weird things. So
okay, and then
also Hell's Reach as well, though. That is a really good introduction, isn't it, to them? If you wanted to get a feel for them, just the way they act.
They are one of those chapters, though, that they're massively popular, but have a shockingly little amount of like Black Library books sort of dedicated specifically to them.
Yeah,
you've got your billions of Ultramarines and Blood Angels books and stuff like that, but like Black Templars are a second founding chapter. They're a big chapter, and I've struggled to think of many books that they're in.
Yeah.
I've lent you some, Dave, and I, but you're not really that far into them yet to give much of a judgment, are you, yet on them?
No, not really. I will get into them, and we can recap on one of the hobby roundups at some point.
You need some more pictures in these books. That's what's taking them so long.
So other than Helbrecht Grimaldus, I think you can get Sigismund as a model now, right? Is it Forge World? Can you get it as Forge World?
There's a Forge. He's still sort of quite Imperial fisty there, and it looks outdated, in my opinion, anyway.
Are there any other
30k model? That's why.
Yeah. Are there any other characters that you that maybe are not available, but you would like to see available?
I wouldn't say necessarily a specific personal character. I would like a Castellan model, Marshall model, sort of where they've got. It's basically similar to what the Sword Brethren ones. Some updated Sword Brethren models would be pretty cool. So just a bit more themed around it, because obviously you look at the Death Guard, for example, the amount of sort of different units they've got there with just like different cool looks that are just pure Death Guard. If you could have something similar with Black Templars, I think it just improve the overall look, because a lot of the time it is literally just base Marines, maybe with a couple of chains on, and that's sort of it. And maybe if I was feeling adventurous and green stuff, so to do some tabards and stuff. But
really, what you want, so like for Space Wolves, you need a upgrade pack for Templars where you get some relics.
They do have an upgrade pack, but again, it's not a new one. It's not a not a Primaris.
Units, isn't it? You need some named characters. Like, I mean, everyone like have got like specific captains in, you know, a different unique look to them. Whereas you've obviously, you can just use captains sort of thing, unless it's Helbrecht, obviously he's a High Marshal. But there's no. You said Castellans. So what are they? Essentially captains, or
So they're essentially captains, and then you got marshals who are sort of in between these. So it'd be cool to have them, that they're sort of above a captain but below a chapter master.
Well, I have a unique model for one with a name maybe or something.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see more of that. I'm hoping for a supplement, plenty of new models, but I can't see it happening.
You might get a new upgrade sprue, like John was saying, and traditionally you get one Primarisified character. So what, some of them have been named, some of them have been, this is a random bloke we've made up, but now he has a name, you know. So some have crossed the Rubicon.
What was it, Tolmaron of the Blood Angels? Good example.
Tolmaron.
And the Dark Angels one, and then you've obviously had Khan on the White Scars. You know, some of the bigger name characters have gone across as well. So
Fiston. I've got my fist on.
Yeah,
as well.
There's like I say, there's usually at least one. Is Tolmaron's not a specific named character though, is he?
No, he's got a name on the pack, but in a data sheet it means nothing. It's no different than a lieutenant,
We just know him from combat cards.
We do.
Because whenever you said that, I was just like, oh yeah, it's combat cards.
But it does look good though, just for the sake of the Blood Angels army to have that unique character in it. Although essentially you could use him for any and just take his Blood Angel shoulder pad off. Really, so
I think
is it embossed on? Is it? It is.
It is, yeah. But I think just a little bit, cut it off, and
I think what you have to do is just be patient, because obviously you got Warhammer Plus coming out with all the series. Black Templars are getting a series.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know what the characters are going to be. Maybe we'll get some characters out of that, and if it's popular, maybe that's what to cash in. Games Workshop might wait for that wave to come through. Yeah. So maybe in like a year you might get something.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Well, cheers, Dave. Thank you for the overview. Sorry for the grilling that I gave you, but it was good. It was interesting to hear all about Black Templars.
I did it some justice, and you're going to walk away with a bit more knowledge of the Templars.
Bit of interest.
You didn't shout at us with hate in your eyes this time as well, Dave, which we're grateful for.
I wanted to say though, when you was introducing him, did you see the fear in his eyes before he started talking?
That's because he was trying to regulate his own voice in his head, so he didn't just start shouting at us.
Yeah, you did shout hello at the start of this fucking episode as well.
In me?
Yeah.
No, I do it every episode.
Hello.
I never said I was any good at this. I just am the one who starts. But like I say, we're not experts. We're still learning. We've only been doing it a year, and you can't expect Dave to be the absolute Wikipedia page expert.
No, it was good, Dave.
It was really good, mate. No, really
just a little touch into it.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll quickly, before we say goodbye, we'll do our own shameless plug. I'm hoping that everyone can see that now. Like we say every week, check us out on Instagram. You'll see better pictures of our models that we've painted and all sorts of stuff. And when we're doing our battles, we sort of post it in the stories as we're going. Join us on Facebook in our group where we can just obviously chat a bit more in detail and share things that we're all finding interesting. We are on Twitter, so give us a follow on there. Try and get some conversation going there. YouTube, if you're listening, check us out on YouTube for our other stuff. Please like, share and subscribe and all that good stuff. And obviously for podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and anywhere you get your podcasts, we are there. Twitch had the first game, played some Space Marine, so we've got a video of me doing that terribly.
Great game.
Yeah, I really enjoy playing it. I will work out when I'm going to go back on and do a bit more. So it's taken off. So go follow us on there and pay attention to Instagram. We'll let you know when we're going to do some more stuff on there. Patreon, if you'd like to support the channel and put some money into it so we can sort of upgrade our gear, do a bit more stuff, maybe get onto battle reports and with some quality. £5 a month is our starting phase for now. And as a thank you, all we can offer you is a shower in the credits at the end of these videos. Element Games as well. So if you're getting all your hobby stuff, you want to get a discount, Element Games is a good place to go for no extra cost. If you use our code, you'll still get the same discount that you would get, but we'll get a bit of a kickback from that. And like we say, all money we make will go back into the channel. And I've added, because I had left it off before, join our clan on combat cards. We love combat cards, but we don't like playing with Shane and Glenn because they're at the top and we need someone to knock them off their pedestal. And unless anyone's got anything to add, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. Exterminatus.
Exterminatus indeed.
As always, we would like to thank you for listening to our Iron and Ceramite podcast. If you liked us, then you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any other good podcast services. Just remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Right.
Cool, we can get a drink now.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, so we're going to pause and get a drink.
Yeah.
That's got to be the longest hobby roundup we've done, almost an hour and 10 minutes. Well, that's
We've left
just over
it
an
so
hour.
long, haven't we? That's the longest we've left it.
Yeah. I'm going to get a drink.
Although, bit of news. Ben thinks that we're famous. Charlie said they were doing something at school. Kate just told me where they were learning about search engines, so they had to put their names in and see how many results come up. And they said, "Oh, you should have put Dad's name in because he's a famous YouTuber." And obviously, the results would have just crashed the computer.
Yeah, I think my kids did the same thing. It turns out there's a molecular geneticist in America that's got the same name as me. He just shits all over me. So nothing pops up on YouTube when you search for me.
He's probably a Black Templar player though, so no one cares.
Yeah, I think I've got the same. I think I've got like a physicist or some shit like that in America. Dr. Glen McCain. I was like, yeah, fucking ain't me.
Nice. There's too many with mine. There's like an athlete, a psychic, all sorts. My name's so common.
I've never actually Googled my own name, so.
There's some MMA fighter as well. It's got my name, so that comes up every now and then. Yeah.
Look at us reveling in the glory of other people with the same name.
Dave's Googling himself, isn't he?
There's an MMA fighter with the same name as me. What are you going to do about it?
So you've got like fucking doctors and all these fucking famous people. One of the first one that comes up is David Jackerman, delivery driver.
Yeah, but is he the best delivery driver?
Yeah.
Or is he notorious for doing something inappropriate?
Yeah, even worse.
An overview for a minute or so, and yeah, we just ask questions, and if you know it, ping it up, and then we'll just take the piss out of each other like we normally do. It doesn't have to be serious, is it? It's
going to be half hour of me saying, "I don't know. Let me have a look."
I mean, what do you need to know of the Black Templars, right? They're Imperial Fist successors, yada yada yada. Job's done. Job's good.
Yeah.
I do think we need a little bit of substance because there might be some poor bastard who's sat there for an hour listening to us talk a little wank about what we've been doing for the past month, and then we go, Black Templars, boom, 5 minutes, and cheerio, exterminatus. And like,
I've got a fair,
what the
I've got
fuck
a
is
fair
the point of
amount.
that?
Yeah, we'll just bring it. Right.
And I'm not familiar enough with the lore, other than what we've talked about already. Has there been any lore for the Black Templars with Primaris yet, or is that not been touched?
It's all got a bit. They have got Primaris because let me do some scrolling. If John, if you could do some nifty editing at this point, because I've got actually a one of the
Wayne's rolled out of it.
one of the Emperor's champions ended up helping to save Girly Man, and then they were gifted a lot. So give me 2
because
seconds.
they saved Girly Man, he gave them some Primaris.
Yeah, he basically he opened up Primaris with them, and basically gave it to everyone. But he was very thankful that this dude helped save him. So give me 2 seconds now. There we are. So it is Marshal Marius Amrut.
Do you want to, just for the sake of editing, and I'm not just starting you randomly talking, bring us into that properly.
So ask your question again, and I'm ready to go.
Did I ask the question? I did. Okay, hang on. Let me try and. What was it? It was about.
You asked him what's
Primaris.
the law around them being Primaris.
Yeah. So with the. Hang on. Clap sync.